Bonjour tout le monde. Alors on se retrouve cette fois-ci dans un nouveau live avec une invitée exceptionnelle qui s'appelle Nuri. Donc on va faire ce live. Hello Nuri. En anglais. Alors, hop. Normalement, c'est bon.
Salut!
Hello, salut, bonjour Nuri.
Ça
va bien et toi?
Ça va bien, merci. I speak a
I
little,
saw that.
but
Yes, I saw that you learn also your practices in the south of France.
I
Where?
have, yes.
Where was it?
It was with Sebastian Segun. He is a medium out there in a small province.
All right.
And so I studied with him for about a year. He's doing what's called energy clearing or exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
So I started learning quite a bit about energies back then. Fell into that realm of work, but it was quite an interesting experience. I absolutely love France. In fact, I want to go back there as soon as I can. I do have a lot of friends out there, so.
And please come to Paris to see
Absolutely. That is my number one stop always.
So, can you tell us, so this is like my French community, but I think most of the people can understand you and us. So can you explain to us how did you begin to like quantum metaphysics? Was it like step by step, like feeling things, sensing them, and then at one moment you began to channeling things by yourself?
Yeah. You know, I would always say this journey takes a lifetime. So it was an accumulation of things even when I wasn't aware until I became aware. Then I started to see why things unfolded a certain way. The process was very gradual. So I did have a lot of exposure when I was a child with my grandmother to all of the energetic, I guess, principles because she was working with, well, for example, she taught me how to use cards to do the card spread, right? So it was quite interesting. And then of course society and all of the standards came into play, and so we set that aside as something that's taboo. So I would say I started to become more aware around 2012 when I started to get into manifestation practices. There was Abraham Hicks that I was listening to and reading quite a lot of books, Eckhart Tolle. Some of you guys may be familiar. And after that, it just morphed into different circumstances. I would meet, for example, Native Americans. I worked with them for a while, learning about the spirit and the energy of the spirit. Then I worked with Sebastian out in Paris. He helped me clear a lot of my own blockages, and then we started to get into the actual one-on-one learning how to do that for me. Then I went to the Clairvoyance Academy. So some of it was academic for me, and some of it was more of starting to really open up the third eye, if you will, and seeing things on more of a vibrational, out of that vibrational perspective. And my mom had a lot to do with it too, because she was an engineer in Russia, aeronautical engineer, and so a lot of quantum physics and more on that scientific level came to me, to her. And yeah, it's accumulation of things, different masters that would come into my life, sages, mentors that I would learn from. And of course, applying the principles in my own life and seeing how energy works. Yeah.
Yeah, you have
So it's a
so much
long-winded
humility.
answer.
You have so much humility, but I'm sure that today you can feel it and sense your own analysis, if I can say like that. I mean, it's not just what you learn from other people. Now I think that you can scan, aura, and you can channel your own how can I say, wisdom. Yes.
That is a natural state of being of all of us, as long as we don't have those limitations, or at least we
Mm.
work on them actively. So you do receive information from outside sources as part of that channeling. So when you do channel, sometimes information could come through music, sometimes it could
Mm.
come through another person. But then when the channel is clear enough, you just get this knowing of
Yes.
certain aspects. So, yeah, there are levels of getting to that point, but it's certainly something that comes from within for everybody.
Yes, yes. So the subject that I love and that you love also is today the void.
Yes.
And there are so much things to talk about it. So you're free to say whatever you want, but say the most of you can. The For me, this is a theme where we can really tap into the regeneration of the cells of ourself, of our ego, and really be a creator, you know, again, like it's like playing with the 0 point and the first point, you know. But it can be, the void psychologically for some people can be very disturbing, like where am I, who am I don't get it, you know, nothing is really happening. So can you say with your words, of course, what you feel today with your knowledge, what is the void for you, and everything, the capacity, the greatness of that.
Yeah, the principles of the void we could actually find in a lot of esoteric teachings as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that I wanted to look into more, not just on the spiritual or energetic form, but also see what, let's say, other traditions, cultures talk about when we touch on the subject. And just like you said, void can be the same as a 0 point or the black hole in quantum physics. Then we have in Hindi, in Buddhist traditions, it's Jivan Mukti. It's basically that infinite, liberated way of living, non-attachment. In Buddhist terms, there's also nirvana, something that
Mm-hmm.
can be described as void, the Tao, the Taoism. Um, in Catholic churches, for example, it's the state of grace. So we can label void at a very limited in a very limited way, because the void is really encompassing everything and nothing at the same time. It's that original state of being where we're not attached to any physical matter or even the soul level. The soul level is also something that is more on that denser level of being. So the void is that ultimate nothingness and part of being everything, that one molecule of God. And I feel it's such an important place to realize the self in, because we're all part of that one big particle, one big consciousness, collapsed in quantum terms, collapsed into form, into these particles that are more dense. But we're all part of that one consciousness that gets to see through individual eyes, if you will, the creation itself. So we're just projections of ourself, of that entire consciousness. And getting to that void state allows us to relieve ourselves from the karma, from all of the projections that we have in our reality. So it's the ultimate place of bliss, where we find that eternal love state, and so many other rainbow of things that a lot of different spiritual traditions talk about. Um, And in a quantum world, as your viewers probably are aware of, I know you're a specialist in that as well. In the quantum world, anytime we attach ourselves to anything that's of matter,
Mm-hmm.
it's light and sound, right? Emotions, feelings, everything that causes that wave to start to create form. We get to entangle ourselves in that unless we go back into that state of void and really become the observer rather than the participant of a particular form. So the state of void is like a clean slate for being able to shift realities, being able to manifest, being able to regenerate cells. Anti-aging is also part of
Yes.
it, definitely. And so many other things. And from that place, we can also, while
Mm,
staying there, and
mm.
have the capability of holding that vibration at all
Yes.
times, we're able to experience different level of dimensions. If I'm communicating with someone, let's say on more of a physical form, they're not as evolved in the spiritual way, you could still function at these levels but still stay in that state of void. So again, it's that original place of being the state of grace where ego ceases to exist. So I think it's kind of that general overview of the void. I talk about it more in scientific terms too in my academy. So we take a look at it from more of that quantum perspective, what it is. And yeah, and
Do you
it's
think that there are like also, even if in that 0 point we will say that there are different levels, there is movement in, even in that dark hole, you know, that space of nothing and everything at the same time. There is a movement, right?
absolutely,
For you, because there is
it is.
also creation. So we can be there in that kind of state, but also be very present in the material, our physical body, and really present. Yes.
Yeah, and that is the goal, is to be able to integrate all of creation.
Mm.
So the physical, the soul, the mental, the emotional levels, and then of course that complete state of bliss. And there is a lot of movement. And in that void state, we can find that all possibilities exist all at the same time because there is no time or space. So it's our ability to also create from that space, and without attachment, without impurities of the ego, without the impurities of trauma and all of the stories that we tell
Mm.
ourselves our whole lives, and entanglements, and something that we can just simply let go of. Of course, there are different paths to getting there because blockages do need to be addressed as we go into that realm. But there are shortcuts to, through meditation, through different practices, to be able to get to that point and then create from the state of bliss and create the new earth. And a lot of spiritual
Yes.
communities talk about that, being able to work on the self and project out a reality that the collective would benefit from. So if we want to serve the collective, we have to start by going inward.
And do you today, how can I say that? Are you able today from your void during a day manifest everything that you want? I mean, today at your level of consciousness and practices, are you able to be in that void, be in, you know, like really staying in that place? Or do you sometimes, you know, have to go to your limits and then transmuting and then going back to the void? How are you feeling today?
I think if I was in that complete state of void, I would be a Buddha. So that's the goal. But I certainly have entanglements, and I talk about desires quite a bit in my workshops. Desires that come from a place of lack. So we really have to look at that. If we want to create something,
Mm.
where is it coming from? In certain aspects that I do get the privilege of receiving through manifestation, uh, I have to take a look at that. Is it coming from a place of lack, or is it coming from a place of bliss where I want to benefit the collective? And so, yeah, of course, I fall into the ego trap, and but I think it's important to also take that as a tool and see what other entanglements I have, not just personally, but also on that collective level where we are. So yeah, but it has been become my way of being, the practice of it on a daily basis, without attaching myself to whatever manifestations are happening, whether it's on a classical level where everything is just flowing the way it was
Mm-hmm.
designed, or something that I create out of my own projection. And again, the ultimate goal of all the yogis and sages is to teach how to get to that state of void where we don't desire anything, and just simply watch the creation happen, because there's already that blueprint, that original blueprint that we get to experience.
And when you can you explain to us, for you, what is the blueprint? Is it a specific signature for everyone? Is it the blueprint, or there is like a collective or oneness blueprint?
Good question. There are levels of the blueprints. I see it on that collective level. The collective has a blueprint. We're all going through this awakening process as the collective. So it is part of that design, that chaos and order. Everything that we see that's happening is part of the design to get to us to that state of bliss and state of void, if you will. Then, of course, there's individual blueprints where we come into this incarnation and play out certain, let's say, unresolved karma from past lives, or something that we need to learn from. It's a constant school teaching for us to kind of experience and, again, detach from these entanglements that we get to play every single incarnation. Yeah. Again, it's a never ending work.
Yes, I know.
Until we decide
Don't,
to completely liberate ourselves.
don't talk about it. I
Yeah.
know from my personal point of view, of course, there are moments of bliss in my life and moments of struggling, like getting in that play of ego, of fear, sometimes of lack. But the moment that we observe that, the faster we can transmute and go back in that peaceful state,
Yeah.
or as you were saying, like really blissful state. It's
Mhm.
fantastic. And I think that the more we are practicing, the better we are, and the faster we can transmute. So we don't play. But that's very interesting what you were saying about the desire, not having desires. Don't you think that we should, there's like, it's fun to be a creator and to manifest. And don't you think that Buddha would like to manifest so much things?
I'm sure Buddha manifested a lot of things, including the beautiful flowers that he wrote about. I think I think the word desire has a
Yes,
specific vibration. I think
please. Yes, yes.
creation,
Mm,
I would like to use
mm,
creation more for manifestation of
mm.
things, and it's more of experience. What is it like to experience XYZ? And let's say I always bring this example up, especially on the Western side. A lot of people think, luxury. Let's just say I want to manifest a yacht, and it's something I want to experience. But making sure we're aware of where that's
Yeah,
coming
from
from. Is it
which place is
exactly?
it
Do
coming
we
from?
want to experience the being on the sea, seeing beautiful sights, or do we want to kind of post that on social media and kind of be part of that whole ego mind game? So awareness is key, and wanting things also shouldn't be accompanied with guilt too. That's a whole nother
Mm.
layer. Oh, okay, well now I want a thing, and am I in that place of void, or am I coming from lack? So that's another ego game we have to be aware of. So everything comes naturally. We want to manifest a picture of some sort, or going to wherever travel. It's okay as long as it doesn't come from lower resonances. Or
Yes.
harms anything in the projection as
Yes,
well.
because the capacity also of the void, I mean, for me, of course, with my own words, is having that food and having everything that we need. It's like nurturing ourselves again from a very, I don't know how to explain that, like a raw food, a raw energetic
Yeah,
field. It's like we don't have any more needs. So it's like we're gaining energy again.
yeah,
Do you feel that also for yourself?
absolutely. Yeah. And I, just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of shift the subject a little bit, I'm sure you get people who ask, well, how can I not worry about survival? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a question I always get. Well, how can you be in the state of bliss when you have to put food on the table, pay the bills, and etc.? And it is really hard to explain until someone experiences that. But being in that place of bliss, you're always supported.
Mm.
It always comes kind of in whenever you need something, it's always there. It's just that realization that you're never in lack. So I wanted to really emphasize on that. A lot of
Yes.
people, especially now, are very concerned with, the being able to survive in the world economically, or whatnot. But it's again that faith is the word in being supported and protected while doing this type of work, because it is divine work to purify ourselves from all
Yes.
of the fears. Yeah,
Yes, yes, because when we do experiencing that, it's in at another level. It's not there's yes, it's that bliss, and we really understand that we are so much supported. It's like, I will say, like being coming back at home again. I don't know how do you experiencing that, but for me it's really, they have my back, or he, she, I don't know how to call it. It's like it's here, I'm here. There's no separation, there's no dualities, because as a human being, we all feel, I think, like
yeah,
strangers, like aliens.
yeah.
Where, I mean, what, why, and going back to these kind of states is going back home, in
Yeah,
fact. Don't you think?
absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of people right now, also, you've noticed, they call themselves
Mm-hmm,
star seeds, being
mm-hmm.
from different galaxies and etc. It is a state of vibration. Absolutely. We are part of that too. And then there goes beyond the dimensions, because we're connected on so many different dimensions. Um, we're also able to experience these different frequencies and ETs and all the other beings that a lot of the spiritual communities talk about.
But that's interesting what you're saying, because star seed for me is again experiencing an incarnation. So it's like playing another game. Maybe there's no so much duality, of course, than in Earth, but it's playing a
Mhm.
game.
It
But
is.
the void has a different capacities, really, like nothing and everything. We are what we
Absolutely.
are, like a place of rest, which is not death, but why not?
Yeah.
Words are so connected together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that place of void is being able to experience all of it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we choose whatever we want to focus on. And that's part of that quantum leaping. But that state of void does give us that capacity to, I guess, experience everything at once. That people call it death, but it's really death of the ego, right?
Mm.
We don't attach ourselves to any labels that we create with words or judgments. So we can even judge the sky by its color, say it's blue. But who's to say that the other person sees it a different way? Maybe it's purple, but we all decided to call it blue.
Yes.
So again, the labels and the judgments get us out of that state of void, and then collapse the quantum qualia wave functions that create form, and then we get to experience that projection.
Oh yes, there is a big collapse of every limits belief in the void.
Oh yeah.
That's a shock. That's why we have to experience. I mean, we don't have to, but it's always like step by step,
Yeah.
not having so much fears about that, and feeling that love. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah.
It's words are so limited, but did you experience, for example, the regeneration by being in these kind of states
Absolutely.
of the void?
On
If you can
many,
share with us one example, for example. Yes.
I feel it happen on many different levels. I could even, maybe I'll do some sort of a post on that, but
Mm-hmm.
I even look different from the time
Oh, really?
before. Yeah, just physically,
Yes.
a lot of changes have happened because we do carry a lot of energies before we get to that purity of the space of the void. And sometimes it does change us physically as well. We have different ailments that we carry energetically. So getting into that state and practicing that really helps you to regenerate on that level, on that physical level, and then of course emotional and a lot of other levels as well. You mentioned something in the beginning I wanted to respond to, and that's when someone gets to that state of void. Sometimes it gets very disbalancing and people freak out a little bit. Oh, who am I?
Yes.
What am I? And that complete unidentification. I always tell those who come to me in that state of congratulations, because this is where you want to be. This is the fun part. So I personally have had multiple experiences of that through meditation. I have done psychedelic work in the past as well, so that definitely helps you get there. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's the ultimate way of getting there. We need to learn how to kind of come to that our self-realization.
Yes.
Um, and so the one profound, I would say, I'll bring up one example. One profound experience I had was one day I just woke up and the time and the space and everything started to just mold together. I couldn't tell where I was. It was luckily I didn't start to fear it. I got more
Mm-hmm.
curious about it, but it was really disturbing because I couldn't understand what was going on at the time. And then I started to see different lifetimes, past lifetimes that I've experienced as a soul, as a that infinite being. And then I started to see all of the beings that I used to channel. So the Galactic Federation, the Council of Nine, Arcturians. And then I went further and further into that decollapse of all of the labels that I've created through different experiences. And that state of void was like looking over a cliff and not knowing what's down there, what's above, or what's on the side is just complete, not
Wow.
even blackness, but is just all the colors you could and could not even think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all energy, the sounds, everything was happening all at once. So through that, afterwards, I actually began a process of complete annihilation from the matrix, as people would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the cannabis industry at the time. So when I came back to more of that physical state, I've decided this is not something that I want to continue. And circumstantially, it started to just get out of my field zone. I didn't have to do anything. It's just the reality started to change when I decided that I want to live through what I just experienced, that oneness, that love, that infinite peace. And I want to be able to transmit that to others. And so that decollapse started to happen on the physical reality. And a lot of people may actually judge me for this comment. But I was working at the time with a clairvoyant
Mm-hmm.
mentor, And my mom, that's when my mom started to get sick and things started to shift drastically. And I I sat in meditation. I asked, is this part of my decollapsing of the reality? Because we do have our entanglements with parents and
Yes.
karmic ties and whatnot. And the answer was clear, and it was yes. And I knew I had to let go of a lot more than I anticipated at the time for the sacrifice.
Mm.
And my mom was part of it. And yeah, it was a really drastic, I guess, reality change for me. And that's probably why a lot of people are afraid of that state, because they don't know what they're going to lose, what we're most attached to. And either we lose it through pain and suffering, through that mental and physical state, or we realize the void and understand that nothing is really permanent, number one, and number two, everything exists in its infinity. So it never really goes anywhere, it's all energy. And so there's less suffering of that. So it just comes and goes. So I would say that was the most profound experience. After that, I started to really get into the quantum studies and not fully participate in the matrix world in the way that I used to, trying to
Mm-hmm.
chase dreams and desires and things that I've acquired and didn't really bring me happiness at the end of the day.
You touch one big subject when now you're talking about sacrifices, because life will always test our theory, like, okay, I get it, I know it, okay, I want it, and then bam. So life will touch us in our connection with loved ones, attachment, and then when we go through death, as it was for your journey with your mom, I know. And it's when we really can begin the path, I mean, for us, people who know that, who are aware to really bring up that connection with the void. So your mom is always here, but it's all temporary. But these are really big tests. There's always sacrifices, and that's very, very hard, really, really.
That's
I mean,
probably
that's
the
another
hardest.
subject.
Yeah,
Yes, really.
yeah. But that is the price of to pay to be able to
To
get
go
into
further,
the heaven state. Yeah.
yes, and to go further, because we were talking about the void, the potentiality, looking good, looking young, etc., beautiful, and there is another big subject, which is death. So how can we continue to connect with our loved ones through, that void, that separation, which is not a real one, but
Right.
come on, I mean, we're in a physical body and form. So
Yeah.
how can we reconnect after with the void when we are living these periods of time? I mean, for you, how did you, are you still in the process, or now can you connect with your mom?
I don't think I was ever disconnected, even
Mm-hmm.
when she left. My practice got stronger
Mm.
during the illness and after. It really put a lot of the things I learned into practice during those times. And so the realization of never being disconnected really helped me through that. And she had such a strong presence towards the end of that complete purity. When a lot of sages say when you are faced with a terminal illness, it's a blessing. A lot of sages actually wish it upon themselves to go through such a thing because it liberates you completely.
Mm-hmm.
So that understanding helped me go through that as well. And my mother started to realize that as well towards the end. And that connection never ceased to exist. It's when I get to the state of love and out of, let's just say, grief. I did have to go through stages, just as any
Of
other
course.
being. But still going back into realizing that we're in a state of void. We're never out of it. What happens is we start to label and judge and collapse timelines and judge situations for what we think they are, and using our mind more than the spirit, the essence of that infinite, love of God. But that realization needs to be there, constantly reminding ourselves that we are all connected and the separation is an illusion. Is just us being able to separate things into form and perceive it on more of that game level
Yeah.
we call life.
And you were saying, I feel stronger. My practice is stronger. That means that the energy of your mom is now in the
Yeah,
void. So it's like pure energy towards you.
yeah,
And you're like, I would not say like one person, but yes, you can channel her. And so the two of us combined together makes you have wonderful power, I will say. So
yeah,
she's working through you, also. There's the connection,
yeah.
yes.
And that's why a lot of people out there in spiritual communities like to channel other beings too. We can connect to anything. We can connect to Yeshua, we can connect to Allah, we can connect to Buddha and channel those pure energies. And just realization that that's us in the first place. We're we're that one big particle. We used to be in form.
That's
And
quite hard for the ego to understand that. Oh,
yes.
I'm Yeshua. All right. Yes,
Yeah, a lot of yeah, a different level of understanding of that
of
will
course.
bring different scenarios. But it's not humbly said that I'm part of Yeshua, I'm part of whoever's channeling whatever being. It it definitely shouldn't come from the ego place. It's more of that connection to the self in the first place. But
Mhm.
yeah, different practices and different experiences for people and levels.
And can you tell us for the end, in your academy, what are you offering to people, for my French community, to understand? There's so much things, and it's for me it's really complete. I saw on your website, and I'm listening to you. You have a Telegram also channel, and I followed you like 2 years ago, so that's just fantastic. So can you explain to us what is in your academy, and what do you offer to people?
Well, there are a couple of, I guess, official courses that I offer, and
Mhm.
that is the quantum principles. So I use a lot of scientific information and then layering that over with spirituality and different practices from different cultures, esoteric teachings. And so we break it down into more practical application of being able to work with energy. And then I also have the alchemical studies that I'm offering, and it's an accumulation of different studies that I've done through Guild International Studies of Alchemy, as well as other small academies that I've attended and also read books and had different material on. And it's really just that overall goal, I guess, with all of the teachings that I have is to get people to that state of bliss and liberation and peace, really. because that is our natural state, and also regain faith in people, in being able to create and being able to be connected with God or the source, whatever you want to call the energy, the universe. There's so many different labels, but it's also ultimately connecting with the self and undoing a lot of the conditionings through scientific level of understanding, spirituality practices, and so many other tools that we get to tap into that we already know as beings. So that's really overall what I offer there. And I do clairvoyant readings as
Yeah,
well. It's a way of kind of reading the blueprint of one and seeing kind of where the path is going, what's going on in someone's space. And yeah, it's been a very humbling experience to be able to share this information with others. And it's been really profound for me, and I hope my students as well.
you're so humble. That's amazing, because your work is I will say so complete, and I can feel it, and but you're so humble, and I hope that you will continue to touch so many lives, and maybe doing like workshops in how do you say, like workshops.
Retreats. I'll come to
Yes,
Paris.
retreats.
We'll
Yes,
do a
you will come in
workshop
Paris.
together.
You read my mind. I mean, like doing more physical, being there physically. Maybe that's the next step for you. What will you do? What will you like to manifest for your work for these next years, I will say?
It's a very good
Oh, yes,
question that
it is.
the one thing that I absolutely want to do is keep the purity of these teachings and not fall into the trap of, making it a
I know.
commerce thing. So that is the balance that I'm constantly observing and keeping myself aware of. It's very easy to fall into the spiritual community, money making trap. So really the purity and transmitting the information that's necessary for those who come into my field, I guess. And also share my own evolution, because a lot of the knowledge that I'm transmitting keeps on adding depth to it. The more I practice, the more I realize, and the more I want to share and see how other people experience certain things as well. So I'm constantly a student on myself. I never stop learning. So through my work, I also want to continue learning and expand more and see where life takes me. I stopped trying to figure it out a while back and really allowing the universe to show me where I'm going. And it surprises me every time. When I let go of control, I get
That's
to
true.
experience the most profound things and meet the most incredible people and feel love on such a deep level with all beings, with all of creation. So that's what I want to continue cultivating and share that with others.
So be it. I wish you the
Thank
same.
you. And I really would love to do work with you. I know you have a lot of
I will not
expertise in
say
this.
I do almost the same thing. Well, I'm just a French woman, but when you are talking like that, it's like we're doing almost the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You are so humble
Oh,
too.
thank you.
I saw your work. I know. Yeah,
I
you
think
you are.
you felt it. You felt it. When you
I
say
did.
I saw your work, in fact, you saw it with your third eye because you felt it.
I did. We even have similar background pictures.
Yes,
Did you
yes.
notice
This
that?
is what I was looking at, that pink. these are mountains. In fact, these are a series of mountains, but these, the pink is almost the same.
It
Even I think
is.
the white,
Yeah,
there is like
the
a
whites and kind of
blue pastel. Yes, but the pink is amazing. Yes,
creation.
yes, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Nuri, for your
You.
time. I'm so blessed to have you. That's one of my great gifts for
Merci.
2024. And
Thank you.
so thank you really profoundly for who you are. Just for that fact, that's for me a lot.
And I'm just a reflection of you. So thank you for all of the
Thank you,
work that you
Nuri.
do.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
See you soon, my
I will
dear. Take care
see
of you.
you too.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
Bye bye.